somebody stole one of my photos.
Huh? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody
I
stole.
shouldn't laugh, but it's not every day that happens.
No, not every day that happens. In fact, it hasn't really happened to me at all like this before. But um, I was looking on a bicycle website last week because I was looking for a bike for my wife. And I came across a picture of myself on a Dutch bike. It's a photo that I took about 6 years ago. And I took it at the time just for fun. It was almost like a self-portrait type of thing because I had just bought said bike from said company. And it was just a little bit of fun. And at the time, I put it on Facebook, as you do. And I think for at least for a short while, I had that photo on my website under the the portrait section of that website. And so yeah, I was really surprised to find myself or a photo of myself on this bike website, and I would have almost felt flattered if it hadn't been for the fact that not only did they have my photo on there, but across the photo it said Ben, California. Now it's definitely a photo of me. My name's not Ben, and that photo was definitely not taken in California. In fact, it was taken in Leighton Buzzard. What can I say?
The California of England.
Yeah. So I found that really bizarre. I don't know what do you think about that, but the funny thing about this is, had they contacted me and asked me whether they could use that photo on their website, I would have probably said yes. Because actually I love their bikes, I love their product, so I wouldn't have had a problem with it at all. I would have probably felt quite flattered to be asked. The thing that kind of that I find weird is the fact that they didn't contact me at the time, and they just try to hide the fact by using a totally false name and location. It's just very strange. I spoke to some friends about this, and somebody asked me, so if you had licensed this photo, how much would they owe you in licensing fees by now? And I thought, well, that's a good question. I might as well find out. So I went onto the AOP website, it's the Association of Photographers, and they have a licensing fee calculator on their website. And so the way photo licensing works is essentially it's based on three elements. So when you license a photo, you license it for use in a certain territory. So, for instance, Europe or the UK or worldwide, for example. And you license it for a duration. So that could be for 1 year, or for 2 years, or for 3 years, and so on. And then you license it for a particular use. That could be used in print media. It could be used on a company website or in social media or internet advertising or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you specify those uses. And so based on that, you can then calculate how much the license fee should cost. So as a photographer, that's a really useful tool, because if you're ever in that situation, in particular when you work with corporates, then that's again it's a really useful tool to have, because licensing is often something that people tend to forget about. Because you think of doing a photo session and you think of being paid for this particular project. What a lot of people tend to forget is the fact that your photo can still generate income after the initial session. So a good example would be, you take photos for a company, you charge them this much for the company for the photo, and then a year later they decide to use that particular photo for a advertising campaign and put it all over town on billboards, for example. So at that point, your work generates further income for the company, and so therefore you have the right to license that photo. So what you would technically do, or what you should do, is really you should have the license fee component built into your initial project. But so anyway, so in this particular case, given that I took this photo 6 years ago, I just assumed that they had it on their website for the last 6 years. But by punching in these parameters into the license fee calculator on the AOP website. It's really interesting what result I got in the end. So I basically thought about, 6 years. It's on their website, so I'm assuming it's worldwide coverage. And again, in terms of use, it's on their company website, and as I said, social media, so on and so forth. So guess what the end result was? Guess how much money this company would technically owe me in unpaid licensing fees?
A few bikes worth?
A few bikes worth, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm not sure. I'm not particularly up to speed with licensing costs and things like that. I don't know.
So the total came to £15,750.
Okay, it's about 10 grand more than I thought it might have been. Wow.
Wowzers. So yeah, so that's the money that's the sort of income that you would lose out on as a photographer if you didn't license your work. So I highly recommend to have a look at photo licensing. And again, you can go to the AOP website. We'll throw a link on Facebook for you there.
I guess one of the real tricky parts of everything licensing related is how do you know someone has or is using your image without licensing it from you or without gaining your permission? Like you didn't find out about this photo for potentially up to 6 years. What options do people then have? How do you determine how long it's been there, and et cetera, et cetera? Can you keep an eye on all your photos all the time? That's where I think it becomes quite challenging, or you can let it become quite challenging.
Yeah. I mean, this really comes into play very often in advertising. When you're creating product shots for particular products, for example. So in advertising, I mean, it's very rare that images in advertising are used, years and years and years after you've taken them. That's just due to the fact that you would take images of products that are being advertised right now. So I mean, I'd say that's probably true 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it's relatively easy to set these licensing parameters. Typically you'd license a photo for a year, maybe 2 years. You stipulate the territory, so whether it's a national advertising campaign in the UK, for example, or whether it's an international campaign, or whether it's something that's used in Asia or whatever it is. And then you define the type of use. So, for instance, whether that image is used in print media, or whether it's used in print advertising, or whether it's used online, or whether it's just simply supposed to be used on the website. And of course, these things can change, and this is where licensing comes in. If you want to know more about licensing and licensing your photographs, then check out the AOP website. So the AOP is the Association of Photographers, and the website is the-aop.org. Just check that out. There's lots of really useful information on there.